2022. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Member Luger, Member Onstead, Member Yeager, and Mayor Iverson are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open forum. Is there anybody here for open forum? No, we'll move on to approval of minutes. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for April 19th, 2022. There are no comments or questions. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstead. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for April 20th, 2022. There are no comments or questions. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Luger. Mayor Iverson will make that second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Moving on to the consent agenda, number 3, 4, and 5. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve 3, 4, and 5 of the consent agenda. I'll make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Acknowledgement and of reports of officers, boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Does anybody wish to pull a report? Nobody wishes to pull a report. We'll go on to new items. Number 11, to consider planning and engagement services from WSB for Railroad Park. Number 11. Mr. Limit, are you taking that? Mr. Sachs?
Yep,
Mr.
I'll be
Sachs.
taking that. Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, council members. So last year, the City Council and the Park Commission authorized staff to work with the University of Minnesota Resilient Communities Program to create and execute a community engagement plan for their Railroad Park redevelopment project. Staff had met with the U of M earlier this year, and it was determined that this Railroad Park project did not quite fit the scope of that Resilient Communities Program. The class that they were proposing to fit with this program, they wanted to do much more narrow focused community engagement, like interviewing 5 to 10 different people or groups. And what staff took away from what council and the Parks Commission was looking for was a more broader community engagement. So it just wasn't quite the right fit. So we needed to come up with an alternative because staff believes that the community engagement piece is crucial to make sure Railroad Park gets developed for the vision that this council wants it to be. So last month, staff met with WSB. We discussed the project and that need for that community engagement. And we actually took away 3 different things from that meeting. Because of the increased inflation, the costs that we currently have for that project are $20, and that's probably inaccurate with today's inflation and increased costs. So they're gonna do a updated cost proposal for that concept plan. And then they're gonna explore a phased approach for construction. We do have some funds, we are still short, but if there's a way we can at least get something going, like some site grading or something like that, just to build excitement around that project, that would be awesome. So they're exploring what that would look like. And then they're gonna do the community engagement piece as well, which will include utilizing the social pinpoints specifically for Railroad Park, holding an open house, just some more public meetings and just engaging stakeholders. So I believe the cost for that Resilient Communities would have been $6,000 had we kind of aligned with the U of M. And so the proposal from WSB that was provided to council is $5,500. And so we would use the funds that was for the Resilient Communities, which would be coming from park dedication. And we just use that for this WSB proposal. And Park Commission met last night and they had this discussion. They were in favor of this proposal, so they recommended council also approve this proposal from WSB. So with that, I will take any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from council. We'll start with Member Yeager.
Okay, in the planning part of it, other than updating the costs that were provided in June of 2020, how will this proposal differ from what's already been provided? there's a memo out from July of 2020 that already talked about a phased approach of first doing general landscaping and site work, then doing a history walk, then doing a veterans memorial.
So I guess I wasn't familiar with that. Maybe Mr. Linwood can speak to that, but I will just say the planning in their scope, I mean, it is really more just about the updated cost piece. But Mr. Linwood, you can
Sure,
chime in.
certainly. I think what Councilmember Yeager is referring to is in regards to that initial estimate, they showed some of that phased approaches and the different pieces, components, but I think it's more, not necessarily phases is the inappropriate word, it was more the different components of it. It was never determined how it would be phased in at that point in time and exactly how that will work. So as Mr. Sachs said, we'd like to try to build some momentum around this, and whether it's some grading, some of that initial utility work, but try to build some excitement around the project. So I think that's a piece that we really didn't explore that first time around, other than just showing those different costs for those different parts of the actual construction of the overall park.
Oh, okay, because your memo says just flat out, the first phase is the general landscaping and site work to be a gathering space for residents.
Correct. So, and I think you're right. I think that there will still be those pieces, but I think what we're gonna be digging a little deeper on this is, at first, we were hoping just to do this in one shot. Obviously, the funding, unless we may have a few different grants out there where this project may come to fruition, hopefully quicker than we thought, but we're trying to look at mobilization costs and overall costs and be thoughtful with that we don't actually try to get other things going before and maybe it costs us more money to do so. So I think that's the piece that we really didn't go into that depth of what those components would look like and how they would fit together, and utilizing those funds that we have right now. How far down the road can we get with the initial project before we run out of money? So I think there's a little more thoughtfulness that's going into that with the park designer and engineering to look at those.
Okay. And according to the previous memos, the city's been doing community engagement since 2020, between the thermometer and the park, a presence of stagecoach days, a survey, by a brick campaign. So how will this proposal be different enough to justify spending additional funds?
So I will say that social pinpoint that's been active, that was more for our whole park system. WSB would make a specific project page for railroad, and then just kind of re-advertise that, make sure people know that it's specifically for Railroad Park. They'll hold specific meetings around Railroad Park. I guess I don't know what was done early on in the stage in 2020. Again, that is what they're planning right now with this proposal.
Okay. And your memo says the fees will be taken out of the park dedication fund.
Correct.
Why not out of the donations already made towards the park?
Mr. Linwood could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those are specifically set aside, so toward Veterans Memorial, to the History Walk, those are already kind of designated to those specific elements. So this would just be a separate component of this project. It wouldn't be toward those specific elements.
So this will be coming out of the general park dedication.
Correct.
Correct, yep.
And how much is in that at the moment?
I believe it is about 110,000 roughly.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Member Onstad.
Could you explain, just so that everyone understands, what the park dedication funds are and where they're allocated from?
I'll turn to Mr. Linwood for
Sure.
some help with that.
So we have, by city ordinance, we have a component for park dedication and trail dedication. So each lot, there's a few different ways to do it in our ordinance, whether it's a percentage of the value of the land or by lot, depending on that. But when a developer comes in and develops a subdivision, those park dedication funds are usually, we look at an area where we'll actually have an actual park, or we'll have a dedication of money or funds. And sometimes it's a combination of both, where it's land and funds. But sometimes, depending upon the new development, if there is surrounding parks that are already serving that area, we'll just look at a straight cash donation towards that, and then that it goes into that park fund, and then the park advisory commission can make recommendations to the city council on how those funds should be expended.
So the park dedication fund wouldn't directly affect anybody's taxes or?
Correct. Those are not levy dollars. Those are dedication from developers. You are correct, Mr. Olmsted.
Okay.
All right, Member Luker.
What's kind of the timeline process on this? So if, once this is voted on, and assuming that it passes, WSB starts work right away, how long does it take them to complete the task?
So I guess that is not something we've actually spoken with them yet. As you will, see, the proposal isn't necessarily a contract. I'm assuming if council were to pass this proposal, when we sit down with them on the contract, we get a better idea on what they were thinking. They would start kind of right away after this is approved. But then we get a better scope on how long they're thinking to do community engagement and things like that.
Okay. All right, Mr. Linwood, I have several questions. How long have we been working or talking about a Veterans Memorial? I know it's 6+ years.
I would say 6+, and then we started to have some initial community engagement meetings, I think in 2018 or 19, to some
Yeah.
some real initial ones, and then we started to actually work with the council, and I think it's been identified as a goal through the council in their annual vision sessions that this is a priority park for us, and I think our Park Advisory Commission has also determined that. So we started those fundraising efforts and been fairly successful so far by some significant donations from our local companies. So, and then continuing those efforts through different grant opportunities that Mr. Sachs is working on. So we're hopeful that this, I think, will be really as a centerpiece of our city as you come in, and a really exciting project. So.
Yep, okay. And then the original plan, if you will, the schematic, do you know what year that was done?
The concept and then the
Yeah,
final one?
concept, yep.
I believe that was 2020, Mayor. I'd have to double check that, but I believe that was, I can confirm that.
I think it was around before then.
It might have been
though, as
19,
well.
you might be right.
Yeah, okay, which is fine, that's no big deal. Okay, so, and I believe, we pretty much figured about $350,000, right? That was
Correct.
kind of what we had come with. And now, 2 years later into it, we know that, some things are hard to source and things are a little more expensive. So, my question is this: do you or Mr. Sachs or Jenny or Fred or Chuck have time to go in and kind of do all the things that they're talking about doing now that we have a large donation from several companies here in Wyoming to do all of this that they're planning to do?
I think it'd be challenging from a staff standpoint to put this all together. I think through the master trail plan, I think that you'd have WSB and some of their professionals with this. Candace Amberg is quite good at this, and I think I think from the council and speaking then through the resilient communities, I think gathering those stakeholders was really an important piece of this project to really make sure that we had voices of the community that had input on this. So I think that's key, and I think having WSB to go back and through this, I think it'll really make sure that this is a successful project, and really that we listen to the community on the different components of this.
And get some buy-in from our veterans as well, what they would like to see. My other question would be, our donations are about $210,000, if I remember correctly.
13,
Like 213,500 roughly.
Okay, great. And from that, we had 2 or 3 large donations.
3 large donations.
Three
correct.
large donations, and I believe that those also, correct me if I'm wrong, they wanted dedication or that money to go to a certain part, correct?
Specific pieces of the park, you are correct.
Okay, and then we also with the bricks, and I believe I saw it's $4,500 that we've raised so far, so that would be 45 bricks, correct? Because they're about $100?
Correct.
Okay, so that money couldn't go anywhere, they're specifically for the bricks. So, all right, so, I also see here that on the bottom, it says, it is proposed the following tasks to be billed on an hourly, not to exceed basis as follows. So it may be $5,500 right now. The items that member Yeager were talking about, some of the things are partially completed, so it may not take as much time as they're proposing, correct?
Correct. We could have something where we don't necessarily expend the entirety of that budget. It is a do not exceed, and there has been obviously some initial work that's been done on this through the engagement, and then, but as far as bringing this through the different pieces identified in the memo, the open house meeting, the project awareness, the stakeholder meetings, the interactive map, I think that's something hopefully council and I know staff really was impressed with our Parks Master Park and Trail Plan. We had a lot of great input from, so having one just solely designated to Railroad Park, I think that'll provide some valuable feedback.
And the showcase to the city, right?
Correct.
So, I'm gonna paraphrase, actually I'll phrase, at the Arbor meeting Saturday, one of our very engaged residents was up here, and that resident asked me about the Veterans Memorial Park, and she said, I hope it gets done before I pass. And she is 90 years old, so it would be really nice to get
Agreed.
this done. She's a big supporter of this. So
Great.
I'm all in favor of it, so I'm gonna make the motion. We need to make the motion to, right? You need a motion?
Yes, please, to
I'll-
approve the.
Perfect. I'll make the motion to okay the planning engagement service contract for WSB for Railroad Park. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 12, to consider resolution 220544, a resolution rescinding resolution number 21-01-10, which authorizes the purchase of a 2021 F-55 truck with dump box and snowplow for the combined cost of $73,048.30 from Midway Ford Towmaster Truck Equipment and Hitch. Mr. Almjold, I think I've been 6 years. I don't think we've had a rescinding before, so it's yours.
Thank you, Mayor Everson, city council members. Ordering vehicles has been a real challenge for Public Works especially. On January 19th, the council approved the purchase of this 2021 Ford F-150, and that was 1 month after the grass rig was ordered, which is the same chassis for the fire department. And we had a dump box and a snowplow included. The state bid price was $73,048. So currently, there are no 2021 models left, and the state bid contract is not with the dealer that we used in 2021. And so we, at the order for the truck chassis and the dump body, I got verified emails that they're all canceled, and at this time, we would look for that rescinding resolution.
All right. So we'll start with questions. Member Luger,
No questions.
Member Yeager.
Why did it take over a year?
It's, as you'll see in the next request for council action, the chassis is the hard part to get. Everything else is, you can get available. There's, just because of COVID, I believe, and parts and stuff, we got strung around, I believe, a little bit too by the dealer, and it's just the way it is.
I think
don't know.
there's
Have a
30
good answer for why.
30 cities, I think they were unable to fulfill through those orders. Is that correct, Mr.
Oh, that's
Almjold?
correct. And then other cities were buying right off the lot and having the box taken off and then have their trucks done. And currently, I'm open for anything, so if we start in the process again, maybe it's not a Ford, or see what's available and the timing on it. And the state bids come out in April now, so that's why I have the next request for council action. Get it on as soon as you can. Everything's over a year out. And so if you don't get your truck, you're, because of government, I mean, I can't just, I have to rescind this to do anything
Yeah,
else. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But I'm just curious why.
Yeah,
full on,
it's really crazy. Never seen nothing like it before.
Okay.
Member Onstad.
No questions.
All right. Could Rosenbauer build a chassis? I'm just throwing that out there. They built a lot of things.
Yeah, but not that size though.
Not that size.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, just thought I'd ask. They do amazing things, so. All right, we need a motion to approve resolution 22-05-44, a resolution rescinding resolution number 21-01-10. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 13, to consider resolution 22-05-45, a resolution authorizing the purchase of the chassis of a 2023 Western Star 47X from Boyer Ford Trucks on a state bid contract in the amount of $115,585. Mr. Almjold, you get to describe this one now after that.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Currently, we have 5 dump trucks in our fleet. These are used for different hauling materials and snow removal. The oldest truck is our 1998 Ford dump truck. It has 3,676 hours on the engine, which is equivalent to 183,000 miles. The truck has rust and does not have any modern equipment such as brine tanks, the belly blade, or even a salt spreader. We have a sand spreader that has been modified to work for salt. The average lifespan on our CIP is 15 years, and now this truck is 24 years old. The state bid prices for the chassis has been approved, and Boyer Ford got the state bid contract. The plows, hook, the boxes, and all the other accessories will be available at the end of May. Tollmaster got the state bid, but the contract numbers and all that are not in yet. The delivery of the truck completed will be in late 2023 and may extend into 2024. The state bid price for the 2023 47 Western Star is $115,585 from Boyer Ford in Lauderdale. The CIP has $250,000 budgeted for the purchase of the new truck in 2022. Any questions I could take on that?
Yes, I'm extremely confused.
Okay.
So, we rescinded this dump truck. This new resolution is something totally different? Or it's?
Oh, correct. The first truck is a F-550, which is
Yeah.
a 1-ton pickup looking with a dump box on it.
Okay, and that's all it was gonna be, snowplow dump truck?
Yeah, it's got a snowplow like a regular
A small passenger, it's a large passenger truck, so it's not an actual plow truck. It's basically a large truck with a dump on it, but it's
Yeah.
not like our very large snow plows that go around town. It's a
Like the
large.
one I was in?
Correct, it
Right.
is not one of those. That was
Okay.
rescinding that one. This is
Yeah.
actually for a dump truck, plow truck, now Mr. Omschild is.
The chassis is the same Western Star that you were in
Okay.
when you went on the tour.
So basically then, it's another $45,000, but it's bigger, better, more well-equipped? No, just
No.
something totally, okay,
Just
that's what
forget
I'm
that
trying.
That's a
just-
wholly different truck.
Oh, okay, that's
Yep,
what I
yep.
needed to clarify, because I'm going, wow,
No.
big difference.
No,
So,
no.
okay, that was my question. All right. So, Member Onstead,
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It's,
it was like,
this is a lot more expensive, but it's not the same thing. It's not to be confused with it. They just happen to be on the agenda right after each other.
Correct.
correct?
Will we have?
Well,
a
that
quick-
state bids come out in April, and so I had to wait for the bid, but you want to get your order in immediately?
That was my next
To get
question is,
the-
it seems like it's a long way out to get this. However, it sounds like it takes there
Correct.
still is a bit of a process. We don't anticipate having the same problem that we had with the truck previously. then.
No, this is a Boyer,
Yeah,
and we've never had any trouble there. And Tollmaster got the state bid for all the accessories, and so we will not be going through Roseville for that other truck. And we'll go to Boyer, who got the state bid for Fords too, so.
yeah, it just seems to be a long time, but that sounds kind of standard, and the sooner we get it in, the
Nowadays
sooner
is,
we'll get
it's-
it, yeah.
It's quite amazing, really. I mean,
Do we have any equipment that will be able, that we already have that'll be attached to this?
Yes, so that brings me to the 1998 Ford. Usually you can get a trade-in value, but because it's 18 months hours at the most, they don't really want to give me a price because right now they're real high. Like, we probably get 40,000 trade-in, but they do not know what the market's going to be in a year and over a year. And so they really don't want to give us a price, a trade-in value. So, like today, if I was gonna sell ours on the auction, I'd put a minimum of 30,000, and I'm sure you'd get that.
And being the age of it, 2 years, the frame could crack and it's worthless. We don't wanna, they don't wanna
Yeah,
give us a
it-
bid on something that might be useless in 2 years, and we're obviously not gonna park it.
No, we're gonna use it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And this truck has been bypassed, I think before I started one time, because of a lemon, or you wanna call it,
A truck was, the last truck was about 5 years newer that was replaced, just due to this truck was holding up better where the other one was significant mechanical issues and maintenance on it. So we bypassed this older truck for one that was about 5 years newer, just because it was to the point where it was hardly able to run or complete a plowing event.
All right, perfect. Member Luker?
No questions, all mine have been answered.
Okay. Member Yeager?
Okay, here's where I'm getting confused. So back in January 2021, we're going to replace a 2006 F-550 dump truck.
Correct.
And then now, but we canceled the order to replace, that was gonna replace that truck. And now we're going to replace a 1998 Ford dump truck. What happened to the 2006 truck?
Still have it. Yep,
Okay,
yep. And nothing's happened with that.
okay, because that needed to go because it had
It's,
101,000 miles and it had a
Correct, yep.
diesel engine and the chassis had welding performed on it.
so I think, Mr. Alnagel, and I don't want to speak for you, but there will be another request for council action to do a replacement since we rescinded that one. Once,
Oh,
now
okay.
the state bid is out, this just happened last week at the end of the week in regards to finding out that they were not able to fulfill that F-550 period. He didn't have time to put something together for council for the state bid, but he will have another item at a future council meeting to do a 2022 F-550 to replace that 2006.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't explain it very
No, well,
good.
you answered it with my question.
Oh.
Yeah.
okay, and so now, we're looking at a $42,500 price increase just for the chassis.
No, this is a
No.
completely different, this is a dump truck. I'm gonna bring something up on the screen so council can see it. This is a completely different truck than that 550.
Yeah.
Completely different truck,
Okay, it's a completely different truck, but we're gonna be paying more for it.
because it's a.
Is this like the
So
tandem?
this is an
Yes, That's what we're
F-550.
purchasing, is
Oh,
it's
you're purchasing-
same truck as we did in 2019.
You're, okay,
plow
so you're
truck, a big
purchasing
truck,
another
yeah.
tandem.
Right, right.
Got
This is
it.
Yeah.
this is an F-550, which we are rescinding on, so you can see it's a larger truck, but it'll have a bed on it. The Western Star is an actual dump, it will have a bed on it, so it is a full-size, that is a plow truck, where the other one, the one we're rescinding on is this F-550. So they are, you can see, pretty dramatically different vehicles.
Well, yeah, I mean, Public Works conveniently left one of their plow trucks out in Goodview Park.
Right, right,
And,
that's the one, then.
And I spent the day climbing on it.
Okay.
Even took Chip.
Huh.
So anyway, all right, so we're gonna buy another tandem. Now, if I recall, when we bought the first tandem, my concern was, that thing is so big, are we gonna be able to get it in our residential streets?
Yes, the front axles are actually moved back, and since they've owned this one, everybody prefers it. That's why you see everybody driving it all the time, because it has a real short turning radius, and then we can also haul more with it, of course. And I did look up the 2019, the chassis,
Yeah.
and we paid $123,000 in 2019 and $973, and this one's $115,585. So I was very confused myself why it
Oh,
would be
because-
less expensive.
On the memo, it says that the chassis came out to 116,406, so comparable
Yeah.
price.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the memo that was for the 2019,
Oh, this was Marty's, so I printed it
on the
out.
back. Oh, doesn't have a back.
Yeah, so I just punched it up.
Oh, okay, no, because when I printed out the back, this is what I saw. For a total of 235.
Oh, so it's still less. We're at 115.
Yeah, it's still about the same.
About the same, yeah.
It's about the same, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like I said, the problem, the big concern I had was that, we have all our new streets are all residential streets. Can that big plow get down those streets, turn around, come back, the whole bit?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
because at the time, there was some question about it, but since you've had a couple of years driving around,
Correct. And it's like I said, that front axle is moved way back, and so it has a real short turning radius, and, actually, I mean, when you have people coming in on the weekend, everybody grabs that truck, and they need to, I've been telling them, you gotta drive the other ones too, you can't
oh,
just
you
take that one.
can't make them take turns?
Yeah, they prefer that because you can put so much more salt in it, so you don't have to make a return trip. And so I figured just buy another
Okay,
tandem.
but like I said, you can get that down all the new residential streets and everything.
Absolutely.
Cool, okay, so then, and you don't know how much it's gonna be for the rest of the accessories. Now, according to that one memo, the rest of the accessories came out as like about 119,000.
It'll be more than that. If I used 2021 state bid price, it would have been 146,000.
For the accessories?
Right, and that would have came out to 262,000, and our budget was 250, but then we have the trade-in, so I figured that would be safe, because say we had 30,000 for that, we're hopefully in that price range. I just really wanted to get the chassis ordered
Okay,
before they're
because,
gone, which was my biggest thing.
I mean, I'm slightly uncomfortable with committing to buying this big truck without knowing what the full cost of it is.
You've ordered many of these trucks without knowing the full cost before you could have the build out for the chassis. You always order the chassis first, sometimes you don't have the entirety of it, and right now at the state bid, I think as Mr. Almjed said, since we're looking at from anywhere from 12 to 18 months, there's a little bit of incentive to get this in and try to get in line for the new ones.
I mean, I get it, but when we bought the 2019, I had the cost and back.
Correct,
So
because the
that
state,
was,
the
so I
state had
do
them.
get the full price of the truck before I vote on it.
Is there anything else?
No, I was just
Okay.
curious and concerned.
Okay. And you can always say no to just the chassis too, so. All right, I am gonna say this to all of council. I've been in that truck. I purposely went out, rode in that truck so I could understand what our public works employees go through on these roads. And the larger one is what I rode in because I wanted to make sure with all the new development that our trucks can go through these roads. So all I'm gonna say is this, next snowfall, hopefully it won't be until next January or February, that you make sure you hitch a ride on one of these trucks, because you will really get a true understanding of what these trucks can do and how hard the public works employees have to maneuver. And I mean, it looks like a game, literally like a game, but it's not. And they do such an amazing job. So I highly recommend every single person get a hold of Chuck when it's time and it's gonna snow a lot. So, all right, so we are only, let me just reiterate, we are only talking about the chassis on this one at this time, correct? So you can either vote yes for the chassis or no. So to consider resolution 220545, a resolution authorizing the purchase of the chassis only of a 2023 Western Star 47X from Boyer Ford truck on state bid contract in the amount of $115,585. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad, and I'll do roll call. Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Onstad.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. Number 14, to consider a letter of support for the East Central Regional Library for the funding through the Governor's Capital Project Fund. Mr. Linwood?
Yes, Mayor, members of council. I was recently contacted by Carla Lydon. She is the director of the East Central Regional Library. And they are asking for a potential letter of support in regards to some of the leftover legislative funding from the governor. And I have provided council with that memo and that letter, that example letter that East Central provided. Seeing if you would be interested, they addressed this from myself, but I felt it was appropriate to bring it to council and to be able to look at this. So essentially the letter goes through why the libraries are asking for the funding in regards to some of the improvements. The Wyoming Library is a county-owned facility. We do take care of all the costs though for operations. There are, when we talk about improvements, I did have a conversation with Ms. Lydon to clarify. They wouldn't necessarily be updates or improvements to any of the structure of the Wyoming Library, unlike, I guess there are some other libraries within the system that are in somewhat tough shape. They would look potentially at Wyoming for things like technology-based service improvements, and even look at, depending on available funding, if they were to receive it, that we could even be an initial one trying some things. So that's really what they'd be looking at here. It'd be for the entirety of the system, but that's what they would look at here in Wyoming. So for that, I can stand for any questions, but you can see the letter is in front of you regarding that request to Mr. Walls just a letter of support from the city, asking for some of those funds towards our East Central Regional Libraries.
Okay. Member Luker?
I have no questions. I absolutely support this.
Okay. Member Yeager?
Oh, Rob, do you like the letter? Because it's gonna be your name on it?
It is, I don't have an issue, with it. If council's okay with it, I don't have a problem. It's, like I said, it's our East Central system, so I'm fine with it.
You don't have any additions, corrections, whatever,
No,
changes?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, fine.
Is that your only question?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, I just, a couple.
No questions.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Member Onstead. Just, yeah, sorry about that. Thanks for catching that.
No problems.
Maybe I was gonna go before you, though. One never knows. I usually don't. I know. Okay, so, couple questions then. The funding for the library just comes from the county, or does it also come from state money?
The county, I believe, through the East Central system, they are, for a lot of that funding does come from the county, along with, I believe, some other dollars with the East Central system. I'm not completely sure.
Okay,
In fact, that is, another Wyoming, we cover the maintenance component, so we're paying for the trash, for the heating, for the cleaning. That's the Wyoming part, is the strictly operation of our library.
okay, and we don't know if the county has increased those funds. I can do some diligence on this, but we don't know if they've increased some funding to make some of those upgrades throughout the years.
I know that there's been some, the county is responsible for the capital improvements on the libraries, you are correct on that. I know, example, the Wyoming Library, that the county did re-roof it about 5 years ago, so that was one capital improvement. I'm not really aware, per se, of others that have been done. I know, like the lighting system, we've replaced that inside and out, so we're part of, just those general maintenance. It has to be within the agreement with the county. It's very high capital that the county is responsible for.
Okay, perfect. And then, we don't have any idea what I don't wanna say a drop in usage of the library by chance? I mean, have they asked is there any of that even available, that data?
I didn't request it. We could certainly ask as far as their user. I know that, and speaking, I don't know about the actual library traffic. I know that they're seeing more, their room here at the library is being used heavily, but I'm not sure about as far as
Yeah.
actual traffic through just the actual library use. But we could, I'm sure they have that information, or
Okay.
we could request it.
Yeah, it would be great just to know, but I am in favor of this, so I think if there's additional funds and we can use that to improve the libraries and people that don't have access to books and technology, and I'm all for that, so. All right, so we need a motion to approve. Do you have any other questions, Member Rounds?
No, I do not. Nothing's come
Do
up since.
we? All right, we need a motion to approve the letter of support for the East Central Regional Library for funding through the Governor's Capital Project Fund. I will make the first motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 15, to consider a proclamation for National Public Works Week for May 15th through the 21st, 2022. Mr. Sachs or Mr. Almgeld? Or Mr. Linwood?
Mr.
We have a
Sachs.
I
choice
can-
of 3 great presenters.
I can take it. Thank
Okay,
you,
sounds
Madam
good, Mr.
Mayor,
Sachs.
council
Thank you.
members. So every year in the middle of May, we celebrate the National Public Works Week. So we have a proclamation in front of you, and we just, it's important to highlight the great work that our public works employees do. Staff will be posting on our social media every day, just highlighting the kind of things that our public works employees do. We just want them to know that, they are recognized for their hard work. I believe this is the 62nd annual National Public Works Week. So just a great opportunity to just support those employees that we see outside every day. So with that, I'll take any questions.
I think we typically do a barbecue or something for them, don't we? Is it during this week?
We have in the past, not COVID, I think we kind of stopped it, but we have done something to recognize them. Yeah, had some employee event. Yep.
Okay, so do we plan on doing that this year?
We certainly can if it's okay with Mr. Almgeld.
Yeah, so we already have the meat purchased.
Okay, good. And council is invited as well, so we can thank them all for what they do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. That's all my questions. Member Onstead, you first.
I have no questions, but I would like to show that we appreciate the hard work done and show that we mean it.
So you're bringing the salad?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
I just had some salad, and it was really good, so I'll see if I can get someone to make it at home.
Member Luger.
I have no questions.
All right, and Member Yeager.
No questions.
All right, perfect. So we need to approve the proclamation for the National Public Works Week from May 15th through the 21st on 2022. I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. All right, from there, we'll go to council reports. So we will start with Member Yeager.
I just did the road tour in the previous work session to this meeting. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you. Member Onstead.
I also attended the public road tour and the work session prior to this meeting.
All right, thank you. Member Luker.
I have a remarkably similar report. I also attended the road tour as well as the work session earlier tonight.
All right, thank you. So I attended that as well. I also attended the Arbor Day celebration, and I think Mr. Sachs did a great job. And thanks to Mr. Almgeld as well. And I would like to thank Hugo Tree Removal. Am I saying the right company name, right? Hugo Tree Removal, right? I'd like to thank them for being here that day. I'd like to thank our chair of the Parks Advisory Commission for being up here as well, and just asking some wonderful questions. I would like to thank Meadows on Fairview for our road tour. I just can't say enough about Meadows on Fairview and Ebenezer for how great they are for driving the bus. And some of those roads were not very good. So she turned that bus around like a pro. So I'd like to thank Meadows on Fairview for that as well. And I would like to give a shout out to the confirmation class. Do we have a church for the confirmation class?
Faith Lutheran Forest Lake confirmation class.
Okay, so I'd like to really say thank you to them for coming out to the park, and they were putting mulch out like nobody's business, right? So it was pretty cool.
Very fast.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to that. I also attended an informational meeting for, oh shoot, now I'm going to forget the name. Okay, I'll come back to that. There was up at Fairview, there were some interns that they've been working with, and they just showed me how impressive that these interns were, that they were doing, and the life skills that they were learning. And you know what? I will get you the name of that project.
Okay,
So
got it.
it was very impressive. Do I have everything else? Okay, I would like to say, Mr. Erickson, great job, if you're listening. And we're very happy. And also, happy Mother's Day to everybody that are moms and dads that are the role of mom as well. So with that, I think that is everything that I attended. Trying to think if there was anything else. We need a motion to adjourn. I'll move to adjourn because it's been fun. So do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second by Member Luger. All in favor?